stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bazzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Simple 5 Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Kent Vanderwood, Mason Kling. We're all back. The gang's all back together. And we're joined by friend of the podcast and returning guest, Mike. So, gonna be kind to the guest. How are you doing tonight, Mike?
I could be better. The last time that we talked, it was good spirits. Pitt Basketball was about to play their second game of the tournament. Things were looking up. The football season was around the corner. We were gonna have Phil Jerkovich. It's gonna be a great year. He was gonna lead us to the ACC championship, and now Pitt lost that game in the tournament. Pitt football is one of the biggest disgraces in college football today, so it could be a lot better.
I think we'll get to that in time. We're going to be talking both football because we have to, because I know you have some takes you need to get out. We are going to do football, and then we're going to do a little basketball preview because it's the bye week and we have nothing better to do because there's not much football to talk about with Pitt. So we're going to talk basketball. Next up, Mason, how we doing?
You know, I just want to get it on the record that before we started this podcast, took all my negative thoughts, put them in the blue vase I have here in my apartment. So we're all ready to get going.
Okay. All right. By the way, fake news, not a negative thought vase. So
yeah, that some very angry people about that, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. Weird.
What was the weirdest
weird
thing I saw?
It's just how the year's gone that even on the bye week when we thought the weirdest news was a potential position change, the weirdest storyline is probably the vase, and that's just how the season's going. Last but not least, Ken, how are we doing tonight?
We're having some negative thoughts I really wish I could put in a vase. But apparently I can't.
Okay. We're entering the vase space. I think we have some negative thoughts to get out. I guess it may not be what the team used the vase for, but we're using the vase for negative thoughts. So, Mike, you're the guest. Why don't you go first?
So I kind of want to take more of a overarching view. Like, yeah, this record or whatever sucks right now, but I am just more pissed at the philosophy of what this Pitt football team has been the past couple of years. And I think we got to a point where Narduzzi felt like he was untouchable and everything that he would turn to would work. Like, I don't understand how you see how good Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett were, and you decide to go backwards into the stone age of we're going to run the ball 10,000 times. Sure, you have Izzy last year who's amazing that can carry you, but it's clear you don't have a running back that can do that this year. It's clear that, like, whatever – actually, let's go back a little bit further. Now, I don't blame Jordan Addison for leaving for USC.
Yep.
After what he probably saw in those, like, practices once Kenny was gone, he was like, there's no way this is going to be good for my career. Yep. Gavin should have left last year. There's no reason he should be on the team this year. Like, he's not featured. He's just a blocking tight end. He could – I thought, honestly, like, when he first burst out on the scene, that's a potential, like, late first-round type of tight end or early second-round tight end. I don't know if anybody's even really looking at him right now because of what has happened. And it's these situations where your most talented players, you're going to see them end up leaving. Your most talented players that you had commit are going to leave. Who was the quarterback from Notre Dame last year that was committed to Pitt and then flipped to Notre Dame last year after a couple of games? Like, you see that. I know we had the tight end commit that was committed here go to Nebraska last week. It's like you're seeing all the talent that's here leave because of the style that you continually run, and they don't do anything to change it. And it's not that he doesn't want to change it, is that he's defiant on top of it in the press conference. Like, reporters are asking him questions that are asinine. And it's like, yo, the quarterback isn't the problem? He, like, completes 5 passes a half. And then they wonder why, like, this is the question. I am so done with Narduzzi. I hope Michigan State takes him back. I was done with him before the Kenny season came. Kenny coming back for a 5th year probably saves his job, because we probably would have been a year sooner into whatever disaster this is. So he got saved another year from Kenny, and that potentially has given him another 2-3 years on top of it. So I'm just right now just waiting it out, because recruits are not going to, top flight recruits are not going to commit here. Yeah, we could probably still get the D linemen. We could probably still get some linebackers, maybe get some O, but any skill position, that's done. If you're a running back, cool. That's fine. But I was listening to another podcast, and they were like, hey, Pitt is just blue and yellow Iowa. And I was like, damn. I can't believe that I'm actually watching a team that is considered like Iowa levels of ineptitude on offense. So right now with Narduzzi, with Jerkovich, I don't really care anything about the offense right now, and I'm just hoping Michigan State throws a bag at him so he can leave, so we can restart this whole thing over again.
Yeah. Okay. So that was where should I begin with this? I just want to touch on that Iowa comment first, because I think when we were leaving the West Virginia game, I think I said that in the car ride home. But I think one of the worst feelings that I've had this year is I watched Wyoming play Fresno State this weekend, and I was like, damn, this is what Pitt's offense should look like in terms of running the ball and throwing seam routes to the tight end. So that was a pretty low point for me. Okay, but let's go back to the top, right? That this season is Narduzzi's fault. And I don't know if any of us here would disagree with that. It was an offensive coordinator failure to hire. I mean, you get it when you look at last year and you have Izzy and you're like, okay, we can build a strong running team around him. But in that case, the correct answer was always to go and hire Brennan Marion, who was already on your staff, who is, I believe, averaging like 30 or 40 points a game with the UNLV, which I'm going to double check myself on that. But, Marion's offense was exciting. I was texting Tony the other day, who we've had on the podcast before. He's my roommate who walked onto the team. He told me straight up that Marion helped Whipple call plays during 2021. So any reason for him to not be hired was fucking asinine, and he was the right move. And like Mike said, this offense is just losing us recruits. You mentioned the quarterback, Kenny Minchie, flipped from us to Notre Dame. Ingerson, the tight end, flipped from us to Nebraska, to his home state, and then Rick Farmer flipped from us to UCF, which not Nebraska, but UCF does have a high-flying offense that he is, more likely to get looks at for the NFL. Definitely agree that Cignetti was the reason that Addison left, and the fact that we don't throw Gavin the ball more than twice a game and only use him as a blocker that's a war crime. That's a war crime.
It's been a sad season.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit last week. Not sure how many wins we have left on the schedule. But from here on out, it's the Veilleux show. I don't know if that was official the last time we talked, Zach.
It was still a rumor, but it's now official.
We also had the news of Phil jumping in at tight end. A little Taysom Phil action is what I'm calling it.
Phil.
That's really
good.
So that's interesting. We'll be interested to see if that's actually a thing or if that was just media stuff. I don't know. But excited for that. Looking forward, I guess. Yay.
Dude, touching on the tight end thing, do you think he actually was practicing with the tight ends, and then Narduzzi completely backtracked once he heard like how everybody was reacting to that news, and he acted like it never happened.
Okay, so I think there's three possibilities here. One, the first possibility, which I think is the least likely, is that the guy who reported it, Noah Hiles, got burned by a source, which I don't believe because he was spot on about Veilleux being QB1. And also in that report, Yarnell was listed as QB2. So I think there is some truth. I don't think he got burned by a source. The second option, which I think is the most likely, is that he is absolutely now a tight end, and Narduzzi's just mad that the news got out before he could tell everybody. And the third option is that either the backlash caused him to bring him back to the quarterback room, or he just wasn't that good at tight end.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit of a mix of like all of that. I feel like Phil still wants to play football, and he's like, well, the only way I'm going to play football at the next level is tight end. I want to play tight end. Goes up to Narduzzi. Everybody's cool with it. And then they start seeing the backlash that he's getting, that Narduzzi is like, wait, so you're telling me your quarterback that you stuck by all these weeks is saying he's so bad that he's going to play tight end now. And this is just a thing that's going to happen. And Narduzzi was like, wait, that doesn't really work for me. That doesn't really make me sound. So it's like, oh yeah, no, he's still a quarterback. We just want to go and try and see what we have in the young guy. But I truly think like by year's end, if they really do right by him, I think he'll get a couple of snaps at tight end just to get some film on there. So when he does make that switch going into the draft, that he has some type of film. But I don't really think tight end is probably in the future for him. He wasn't athletic as a quarterback. Like there are some quarterbacks that you're like, all right, yeah, like I can see him. He didn't have the motor for it. Like the runs, they were laboring. I don't think he has the blocking in him. It's just, being a car salesman isn't the worst thing in the world.
I was going to say insurance has probably
Like-
a bright future for Phil's career.
Yeah, like there are other options out here. We've all had to give up football at one point in our life. Maybe it's your time, Phil.
Djokovic and draft in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Uninvited has to be somewhere, or not invited has to be in there somewhere too, I think. But hey, you never know.
The Senior Bowl will invite anybody.
First
Dude,
round.
I'll tell you what though, if there was one way for him to earn back the respect of Pitt fans, hopping in there and getting his nose in the ground and playing tight end would be the way to do it. Because it sure as hell isn't going to be playing his way back into respects at quarterback. So put your hand on the ground, son.
Quick question: do we still hate Slovis?
No, I want to issue an apology to him.
I never hated Slow.
That's all. You can't. Pull up the receipts on that right now.
I want to find some. I do.
Yeah, it's definitely – I feel like we've definitely if he didn't leave the way that he did, like I think we'd probably have a lot more good words to say about him. I still don't really have – now getting another look into the situation there, I think it kind of all makes sense.
So the report is that he left because he didn't want to compete with Phil for the starting job. Are we really confident that Keaton wouldn't have just still been the starter?
No. Narduzzi had this idea of Savior coming to Pitt. And that's why when like it came out, the reason why he left, I was like, that doesn't make sense. But it's like, all right, a Pitt kid coming back to the University of Pittsburgh, and he's going to be the number two to Slovis when people were already down on Slovis. The minute like he threw one pick in the game, that's all we would have heard. And then it was just like for him, hey, I got an opportunity at BYU. I can be a starter there versus like potentially be the starter at Pitt, still end up being hated, or be the number two in my last year of playing college football. It was a no-win situation. That's why, like, now after seeing the offense in the second year, I'm like, you weren't great, but, like, you also didn't have much help around you with your offensive coordinator or head coach.
No, I mean, the offense did him no favors. The only thing that really worked last year was the run game, and I think that was less. Like, I think we can all agree at this point that the run game is not due to some sort of excellent scheme that Frank Sinetti runs. It's just basic power, and teams learn how to play that. It was just the extraordinary efforts of one player. It was just Izzy. It was all Izzy. It was a load-bearing Izzy. And you can see that in how the offensive line just got worse because as teams realize that they only have 3 or 4 running plays, it's sort of a Matt Canada situation, right? Where they just call the same 3 or 4 plays and they expect it to work every time. So I don't know. I will say, to answer your question though, no, don't hate Slovis. I think obviously in the moment we were all like, this guy stinks. He's holding back the offense when really I think we just should have questioned the hire in the first place instead of all that other stuff. I don't know.
Is there a path forward?
Firing Signetti after the year. Generally, I don't think that because Sean Watson got 2 years as Pitt's OC in 17 and 18, and people knew he had to go after year one. Sean Watson won the Coastal Division by going 6-6 in his second year, and Narduzzi still fired him because he knew he was terrible. So the only real way for Narduzzi to save face, get the program out of the gutter, is to go and hire an offensive coordinator that's not from 1964. This season, you hope that the quarterback play of either Veilleux or Yarnell is enough to get a couple wins against the worst teams on your schedule.
That's a bleak path forward, but I guess that's it.
It
huh?
really is.
I feel like we're on step one again. It felt like Pitt was in a place where nobody really gave us any respect. It wasn't something that we really deserved. And by the time we got to 2019, 2020, 2021, it's like, all right, there's some conversations. Like this year when the top 25 was released again, preseason top 25 was released, and we weren't in it. I didn't only see Pitt fans complaining that we weren't in the top 25. There were actually national outlets where the past 2 years, Pitt has ended the year in the top 25. They ended last season in the top 25 with a win against UCLA, but they're not in the top 25 this year. That doesn't really make much sense. I saw some sleeper picks for us potentially winning the ACC. It was just a lot of hype, and it was okay. We also started to see an uptick in the type of recruits that we got. It did suck that Kenny decommitted and went to Notre Dame, but it's all right, we lost him to Notre Dame. I love Pitt, but there are levels to it. And now it feels like we're back at step one, where it's if my son was a quarterback, there are so many other schools I'm looking before Pitt. I'm you're essentially handing off the ball and throwing 12 times a game. That's not going to work. So I feel all the goodwill, everything that we built up to get ourselves to a point where it's we're not a top 10, 15 type of team, but we're always going to be in that 15 to 35 range. I feel like we've taken another step to go below where we're now hey, we're 45 to 70. And it's damn. So all the work you did in Narduzzi, AC champion, all that stuff, just down the drain.
And the fucked up thing is that they can fix this pretty quickly. If they were to get rid of, I'll be honest, to get rid of Frank, get rid of the O-line coach, maybe the wide receivers coach, they are getting, they got good separation for 1 year with Brennan Marion, then they went back to immediately being draped in coverage every time. If you can nail the OC and the O-line hires, if you can get good hires for them, you can realistically build through the portal like you've seen other programs do. You can pull a Texas State. You can't pull a Colorado because you're not Deion Sanders, but Texas State is 3-2 in year one of a rebuild. So it's very easy to get back to a place where, as long as you kind of nail that transition year from your old OC, it's easy to get back into that spot. You can get recruiting back up if you have one good year. The issue is that our current O-line and offensive coordinators are bad, and you don't see any rumors that we're going to be moving on from them. but we absolutely should be.
Should we move to basketball?
Oh man.
We at least haven't played a game there yet. There's a little thing called hope.
There's a little thing called hope. Before we go to basketball, real quick, couple of non-Pitt football things. I'm not going to bother previewing Louisville because we're probably going to lose. They're 6-0. I believe Louisville is ranked.
Coming off a big win. It would definitely be funny if we beat them, but I'm not going to really get my hopes up for that. They're ranked 14th. Pitt is only, again, 7.5 point underdog. So
The gambler in me loves the 7.5, but the Pitt fan in me is telling me there's no way I touch that.
absolutely not.
No way.
That was my bringing that up was to go to your bookie, empty your balance into the Louisville points there. Yeah.
I'm taking Pitt money line, baby.
Oh,
I ride for my dogs.
This is not legally actionable financial advice. Please don't take it.
I'll report back next week.
that would probably be a pretty good hit if you put a couple units on them.
We're putting some units on it.
Again, not my idea, but
Mason's just doing the math. He's not having the idea. Okay. Also, from last week, real quick, speed run. Georgia's back. Michigan woke up. Texas isn't back. Oklahoma is actually kind of back. Ohio State's still sleepwalking. USC is completely unserious. They should have lost. Notre Dame kind of sucks. Texas A&M.
USC is going to lose this week too.
I think USC loses at least 3 out of their next 5.
Rainy game in South Bend. Notre Dame's going to run the ball, control the clock. I don't know. I got Notre Dame in that one.
Okay, I'll get to that in a second because I have some extended thoughts. Texas A&M loses to Alabama at home 26-20. They got the game they wanted, and they couldn't stop Jamarius Burton. Mentioned Wyoming before. They're a fun group of 5 team. Go watch them. Last one I want to point out real quick. Miami 20, Georgia Tech 23. Mario Cristobal, what the fuck are you doing? He had a first down where Georgia Tech only had 1 timeout, and I believe there was like 90 seconds on the clock, and he decides to run the ball. They end up fumbling the ball on 3rd down, and Georgia Tech scores a touchdown with 1 second left to win the game. Do you guys think Cristobal should be fired for that? Because it's not the first time he's had a pants-pooping, game-losing decision like that.
I mean, there's just no excuse for that.
No.
We're here calling for Narduzzi's head for some bad offense. Can you imagine if we did that? That's just so tough. I don't really ever feel bad for Miami fans.
No, there's not a better group of people this could happen to. Or, I guess, people.
Penn State or West Virginia, maybe. But
yeah,
that's oh my god, that's brutal.
Because it's not even like they did play bad, right? They only scored 20 against Georgia Tech, but they won the game, and then Mario Cristobal chose to lose it.
They're tanking.
I can't fire Mario because he's still bringing in 5-star recruits. Like Miami's like
he did that at Oregon though, and he never did anything with it.
But I'd rather have that, like, just the off chance that, like, hey, I have like 4 or 5-star recruits that just go off and carry me in my dumb coaching versus like, hey, let me just get like a middle of the pack. Like Manny Diaz was their coach before then. He wasn't getting like the top 5 stars, and they weren't doing much either then. So it's what, year 2 of it. I guess you do have the middle. They lost to Middle Tennessee last year, but those weren't technically his guys. it's so
They were still good recruits.
it,
But
yeah, it's so dumb with how he did it. And I feel like do they have an explanation. I feel like I heard like it was like him just being a macho man. He doesn't take knees like at the end of the game. Like you still play to the clock run zeros, but it's just like that's really stupid. I think it depends on what this season turns out into. If this is a start of a spiral for Miami, I think there's a legitimate chance that like they're like, nah, we're done with this. But if it's just like a blip and they go ahead and they have UNC this week. They beat UNC this week. I don't think anybody remembers past what happened on last Saturday.
that's fair. I get the thinking that like you want to believe he's like an Ed Ogeron type of coach instead of a Manny Diaz, where it just happens that all the 5-stars carry him. I will say Miami's what 4-1. Yeah, they're 4-1.
Yeah,
They
they're
have UNC.
undefeated.
Go ahead.
I said, yeah, they were undefeated before that.
Yeah, but they have left road game at UNC. Clemson comes to town. They go to Florida State, and then they have to play Louisville late in the year. There's a
Oh, that's terrible.
That
That's terrible.
that Georgia Tech game could derail that season. You go from undefeated. 5-0 is very different than 4-1, or I guess it's 5-1 at this point.
I'll be honest. I think they get crushed by UNC either way, but this is like a 5-0 swing to like 4-3 because I don't think they beat Clemson either. I think they're just a more disciplined team, even if Clemson has taken a step back. So yeah, you're looking at 8-4 is in play. It's in play. I don't know if Louisville will stay that hot. Yeah, something to keep an eye on. Miami fans being sad again. Last thing before we get to basketball. It's time. It's time for our Huskies and Ducks to play this weekend, 3:30 ABC.
This is the Pac-12 right here. Winner of this game is in the driver's seat.
Dude, I know. I'm stoked for this game. I'm all in on the Ducks.
We might need a little side bet for this one.
Okay.
All right, I'm all in on the Huskies. Mason, were you drinking the purple Kool-Aid, or are you flying high with the Ducks?
No, I'm a purple Kool-Aid guy. They're I picked them to win the Pac-12 at the beginning of the year, so I'm riding with the Huskies.
Mike, what's your quick reaction this game?
Number one thing for me is always recruiting. I'm always going to fall back on recruiting, and I think Dan Lanning has done Mario Cristobal left, and he kept it up with just getting tremendous talent at Oregon. I think it's Oregon. I love the Washington offense, but that Oregon defense has also looked like pretty damn good. The only thing that worries me about Oregon is that Texas Tech game earlier in the year, like Texas Tech had that game won.
Yep.
It wasn't like Oregon had to come and storm back. They've looked amazing since then, but it's not like Oregon has been like just flying through. And I feel like because of the Colorado game, everybody's just been like, oh yeah, Oregon has been crushing everybody. But Texas Tech had that game won, and Oregon was able to somehow come back and win it. So that's my only thing. But I believe in their recruits, and I believe that defense is real and has gotten better like each and every week this season.
Same dynamic offense with Washington too. The
Arizona game, they had like a weird brain fart in that one, but
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a good one. That's gonna be the one with eyes on it. Because during that time slot, there's not a lot of other stuff going on.
No, the noon slate is bad too. The only other games really worth shouting out are all at night. Wyoming Air Force, that might be the deciding game between the Group of 5 New Year's 6 team. Just want to shout that out. Wyoming's fun. Air Force is fun. USC Notre Dame. You hinted at this earlier, but I agree with you, Mason. Notre Dame is going to beat the brakes off USC. But also, Notre Dame is like kind of unserious, so I actually don't know if they're going to do it.
That USC defense made Notre Dame look good. Notre Dame's offense looked good last year. I don't know. They're just going to control. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. I don't think USC has played a defense like Notre Dame. They're still going to put up points. It's USC. But I think that Notre Dame's going to be able to limit them enough from a time of possession thing and just from playing a defense kind of aspect to get the dub.
My thing is, like, last year, Notre Dame looked a lot slower than USC. But then I go back and think about if you just drop 7 or 8 guys into coverage, Caleb Williams shuts down. It's like teams finally watched the tape from the Oregon State game last year against USC, because that's what Arizona did the whole entire first half last week. They just dropped 7 and then waited for Caleb Williams to get sacked, which he did a lot, and that's why they had a halftime lead. Yeah, fuck it. I'm a hater. Notre Dame in this one.
I want to play this out on the other side too. I feel like I heard Notre Dame versus Ohio State. I heard Notre Dame versus Louisville. I heard Notre Dame versus Duke, even though they won, but it was like barely. Like Sam Hartman, cool. He's been in college football forever, but they haven't in like their biggest games done anything to really like necessitate for us to keep being like, yeah, Notre Dame. I'm kind of like very uninspired, unimpressed by them. It's like they have a couple of good tight ends, but I don't know if I really trust their receivers. They have 7 running backs, but it never feels like anybody's ever able to get into a rhythm, because I feel like every time, like, oh, Esteme's starting to get going, he's pulled for another running back. So it's like we have another one. I just, the speed of USC scares me on offense. I think it's high scoring because USC can't stop anybody on defense. But on the other side of things, if Notre Dame is to lose this game, you have the Marshall game from last year, and now you have like losses to all your ranked opponents this year. Is Marcus Freeman starting to be on like, hey, you may have like another season max to be the head coach of Notre Dame football?
I mean, you take in the Marshall game, you take in they blew like a 30-point lead in their bowl game, and then I think the number one thing that really, like, it's almost like he's not big enough for the moment to coach at Notre Dame, is that for 2 plays in a row at the end of the Ohio State game, he had 10 guys on the field for defense, and his calling card was his defense in Cincinnati. And I don't know when it comes, because USC is still a top 10 team, so I don't know if it happens here, but I think eventually they are going to see that the job's a little bit too big for him.
No, they're gonna see it when Pitt goes in there in a couple weeks and beats him in South Bend. That's gonna be the last straw. No,
but you're
that's actually
to beat Notre Dame. Oh,
wouldn't that be the Phil Jerkovich revenge game? Oh man, Mike, you make some great points to add to your kind of pitch for USC. They were also catching punts while getting sprayed by hoses at practice this week, so they'll be ready for the elements. You guys didn't see that clip?
I did. And they fumbled 2 out of the 3 balls.
They literally had like these like hoses, almost kind of like weed sprayer things, that as they were like going through specials, catching punts, they were literally spraying guys with these hoses just to like simulate wet ball, rain, like ball security stuff. It was so funny. It was so funny. I want to know how you get that job of being one of those assistants that just gets to spray the players with a hose.
That's grad assistant work, right?
Yeah.
That's GA work.
No doubt.
I'm trying to figure out the forecast. It looks like it's not going to rain, but I don't know. It could. Okay. I've got nothing else. It is kind of a quiet slate. There's obviously going to be good games on every slate, but if you have something to do during the noon slate, you can probably get it done. It's a lot of shitty games, I'll be honest. Basketball.
Let's talk hoops.
I'm going to let you guys start the conversation because you guys know ball better than I do. I'm a gridiron guy. You guys are on the hardwood.
Mike, you want to lead us off?
Oh yeah.
Sell us the dream that is Pitt basketball.
It's the dream of Pitt basketball. I haven't been this excited for Pitt basketball in ever. I think that Capel has done an amazing job of like keep the number one thing is like momentum. I feel like even with last year not being like great, he was still able to get like good recruits. And then as the year is going on, and then you're like, oh my God, they're going to make it to the tournament. It's like, all right, it's a tournament team. You know what those recruits aren't going to do? They're not going to decommit from you. And he was able to bring in like good new recruits. And then the transfers. Everything I've heard about Pitt basketball is everybody's going to fall in love with Zach Austin. It's like Zach Austin. It's like the energy, the style he plays with, high flyer. Like those are the type of guys that when you're transfers and coming in, like I don't need somebody to just come and like, oh, learn on the job. Like, yeah, that's what your freshmen are for. That's what your guys you're bringing in are for. But for Zach Austin, everybody like when they went out overseas, it was like he was the main one that was high flying, was dunking, was getting rebounds, was doing all the scrappy work, and I was impressed by that. It sucks, and I really do think what Pitt did was messed up with Dior Johnson. Like, I don't understand how they still haven't really like given us exactly what happened, but apparently it's like the new president coming in and like checking out what was going on with what happened with the situation, and then had him off the team. It's like, why have him go through all of last year? Why put your neck out for him in this situation? Why take him over? Like, there's just so many things where there were so many stops where you could gotten off of, and it's right before like the season starts that he's now kicked off the team. He's now at junior college. I think that's kind of messed up, but I don't really think that's going to do much with chemistry because Dior didn't play last year at all. And then for me, the number one thing that I am worried about for this season is still the big man. Obviously, we had Conte out for the season now. The Twins, I love them, but I'm hoping they were able to put up some actual weight this off season because I feel like that's still an issue. So like the big men are my worries, but besides that, I'm like super excited for this team, and obviously our leader, our best player, going to be first team All ACC this year. Blake Hinson is going to be amazing again.
I saw a very funny Photoshop of the Twins and Fede. Some are calling them the triplets now. But it was just a comical Photoshop of them looking like they were about 100 pounds heavier with just gigantic arms. And I'm not gonna lie, it did like get me for a second. I was like, "Holy shit!" They put on some weight.
The boys are jacked.
But then looked at it for another second and turned out it was very very fake. But I mean, obviously need them to step up. Zach Austin, you're 100% right, Mike. I feel like he has potential to be fan favorite almost immediately. But even given all that, still looking forward to Blake Hinson coming back. Some of the college basketball kind of accounts I follow on Twitter have him as high as like ranked 6th in the country for returning forwards. So to get that kind of recognition and bring somebody back like that, like a lot of it's going to be, he's going to carry a lot of the load, but I think he's got it in him.
Yeah. Mike, let me ask you, you say, your biggest worry is still the big men. How do you feel about the point guards? Because obviously with, the news of Dior, we're really going to rely on the freshmen. How do you view that?
So that's where I was kind of like wary on what was going on in Spain, because like Dior didn't put up stats when they went overseas either. I don't know if he was.
I don't think
he played in games. He played in games, but it was okay. 3 points here, and like, so I was like, something felt off at that point. That's like, why isn't he dominating right now?
Oh no, we lost.
And Mike is gone.
In the heat of his explanation. When the world needed him most, he vanished.
God. All right, hold up. Let's fix this. Okay, we brought back Mike. I accidentally Thanos snapped him out of existence. I'm sorry. Mike, you were talking about Dior's performance in Spain and how you knew something was off at that point. Go.
Yeah, so those games, the 2 games that he played, I have one of the box scores from one of them. It was only 2 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. And then you had Carrington with 10, 4, and 3. And you had, is it Leggett or
Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
Leggett? Yeah, with 14, 5, and 3. So it's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve. But I just feel like with having Hinton, I'm not as worried because I do think that there are going to be a lot of sets that they have where it's going to be, hey, point guard, bring up the ball, dump it down to Hinton at the block where he would operate. He'll back down some smaller guards up and lay it in, or he'll be able to run. Like, I think it'll be easier for them versus, like, I am worried about defensively. Just the offensive rebounds last year killed me. It would be a great defensive possession, and it's just like a bigger, and it's not even like truly like bigger height wise, it's like size wise. I remember, oh my goodness, the Miami player, is it Omer? Omer
or Norchad.
Yeah, Norchad Omer. And he wasn't as tall as any of our bigs, but he would just overpower them. And that's the thing that keeps replaying in my mind of if we're taking that next step this year, it's that we have to have our big men being able to limit everybody to one possession, and we can go and move. I am excited for the season though. Like, I am truly like excited that this is not going to be a year where like 10 games into the season you're like, well, here we go again.
All right, so Mike, talking about size real quick, I have the 22-23 roster pulled up next to the 23-24. So last year, Guillermo is listed at 205, Jorge is listed at 190, and Fede was listed at 220. Respectively, the three of them, Guillermo is now listed at 220, Jorge is now listed at 210, Fede is now at 225. For reference, the freshman Papa Conte was listed at 235. Now, that's not big, but do you think that, I mean, Guillermo putting on 15 pounds, same with Jorge. Actually, Jorge put on fucking 20 pounds. I don't think that's anything to sneeze at. I think that's going to help the team out a lot. I don't know if I'm being a little too hopeful here, but what's your read on that?
I think it's a read of, hey, we got to input weights for this season, and we can't say that they're the same size as last year. So what's the number we're going with? I think we're going to have to see what it looks like. Obviously, an offseason in a D1 strength program, I would assume they did gain weight, but it just, if it really translates. And that's why, like, Papa Conte getting hurt is really, like, I know it's, like, not supposed to be a big deal since he is a freshman, but I do think that, like, with the big men, you don't need to be as skilled when you come out immediately. It's just like, hey, just be a big body and just grab the rebound. We're not running any plays for you. Just set the picks and get the rebound. So that does suck, but if they did in the offseason D1 program put on 15, 20 pounds, then we should be good money.
Couple extra trips to Chick-fil-A in the Pete, hopefully, is where that 15, 20 pounds came from.
Dude, they got like a new knockoff late night Cane's in Oakland. It's where what was that bad pizza place called with the roll up garage doors?
Oh, Latza.
Latza, yeah. Latza. I thought you were talking about Pie Express for a second. We were going to throw hands right on this podcast.
Yeah,
I was like, there's no disrespecting.
Okay, I did say with the roll up doors, not in the base. We've talked about Pie Express. We love Pie Express.
I know. I'm very defensive about it.
Yeah.
There's an actual Cane's in Oakland now.
Yeah, that did just open up as well.
Wow, it's a dog eat dog world out there with the chicken finger business.
Dude, what was that place called? Now I'm curious.
Chicken is sweating.
I have my own thoughts on chicken.
Dude, seriously, there's a Chick-fil-A in the Pete. There's a Raising Cane's, this new chicken place, and then chicken. How many chicken tenders are being consumed in Oakland? Well, it's the highest per capita chicken tenders in the entire world.
So you have Cane's and Lane's, and they're both in between Atwood and Myron. There's one's on 5th, one's on Forbes.
Ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Okay. Last thing on basketball.
Wait, real quick with basketball. I want you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this: what's a successful season? Back to the tournament, back to the round of 32, or has to be better than round of 32?
I know this might be like loser talk, but I think getting back to the tournament is a dub. Running that gauntlet that is the ACC, like if we can just make it back, I think we call it a successful season. You know how it goes in March. Like literally anything can happen. I would love to go on a run. I'm going to be obviously ride or die as soon as we make it into the tournament. But anything less than that, I'll be very disappointed, honestly.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mason. I was going to say the same thing. Like, I think as long as we kind of have that continuity of a program that has made the tournament like a couple years in a row, that's just going to be big in the long term. But I think, yeah, anything short of that is for sure the disappointment.
I think at worst you have to be like the first 4 out. Considering like we get UNC, only got to play them once. We don't have to go to Virginia Tech, so we don't have to play in that weird vibes arena. Florida State at home. You get Miami and Virginia on the road, which sucks. But I don't know. The home and away is manageable, except the only bad thing is like catching Duke twice. There's room for a lot of wins on this schedule, and I think the ACC opponents shook out favorably for Pitt.
That's the Duke twice is tough because they're bringing back a pretty good squad again.
Yeah, the Duke squad is insane.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so was the Miami team last year, and we played them extremely tough. Like, I think if we get those kind of quality wins, what do they call them in basketball? Like the tiers?
Quad one.
Yeah, like if we get those kind of like a couple quad one wins, like we have. I guess what I'm saying is we have the opportunity to have these wins. So it's honestly not the worst thing in the world there.
Weirdly for me, I'm similar where it's if they don't make the tournament, if they were a top 4 seed in the NIT, I wouldn't also be like truly upset because of like I feel like last year was a team that just came to set the tone of what like Pitt basketball should be again. And I feel like we actually have the freshmen now where it's like, hey, this is kind of like truly the first year of like what Capel wants his new program to be. So I do think there's a chance they could take a step back where the transfers of last year have been through the stress of being through a conference, through a conference schedule versus like the freshmen, like when you get into game 7, game 8 of the conference schedule, or that second game you play against Duke when it's just like, damn, we're down by 40 points right now. Like, I do think there will be a couple of games where it's like, oh, we have a long way to go. But like the team is still relatively young where if they're not able to take a huge step back and like, okay, maybe you don't win a game in the tournament, but you're right on the bubble or you just sneak into the tournament, I would be totally fine because I feel like that next year when everybody comes back and has now gone through it, it's like, okay, now you have the Twins are in their 3rd year now and like those are the guys that are going to be talked about the top of the class of like ACC big men and like you now Papa Conte is going to be there and like they can bring him along and like all of your guards now have had a year under their belt. So I think there's a chance we take a step back this year, but I'm just hoping it's not a step back to where you're bottom of the ACC versus like back on that bubble where I felt like towards the end of the year we knew we were going to be a tournament team. Like there was a slight chance we weren't going to be, but we were like, we're probably going to make it. Where this one I feel like it's going to be truly like watching the tournament and we're like, do we make it, do we not? Versus like, okay, we're first 4 seed in the NIT. But if it's any one of those things or better, successful season. If you're getting to a point where it's like barely making it to the NIT or you don't make it at all, then I think that those conversations will be had again about Capel because I don't think that his seat is completely like cool yet. I think he was able to stave off a lot of people for a while, but I still think there are people that doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like what makes a good team in March and late in the season, and it's exactly what we had last year with those like experienced rosters, like you said. Definitely lacking some of that again, but you're 100% right. It gives us that opportunity to build. So that's kind of like my same reasoning for why if we like don't make this run in the tournament, I would be okay because of what we kind of lost and don't have there in experience. But yeah, couldn't agree more, Mike.
I think we talked about this last year when we talked basketball. I think it did come up like how many years did Capel buy with his with being are we the 4 or 5 seed in the ACC last year? We were the 5, right?
Yeah, it was one of those where it came down to that Miami game, and we went.
Not the Notre Dame game where it was fucking Mike Bray's last game as a head coach in Notre Dame. We had a chance to win the ACC, and we all knew it. We were like, we're gonna go there, and we're gonna lose. And then we had the Miami game where devastation.
That's right. I think there still could have been a chance if we beat Miami in Miami, which we. But it was one of those things where we went from like the possibility of winning it to finishing 5, which was like a big jump. But when you look at the teams that were above us with I think it ended up being like Duke, Virginia, Miami.
Miami, and Clemson. I think it was
Yeah, that sounds right. It was like a respectable 5.
Yeah, so I think
holy shit though, Mike. That Notre Dame game, I totally forgot about that. That just
it's burned
you just
in my
unlocked
memory.
a memory that I buried down deep inside.
Yeah, that was bad. That was right after the Aiden Fish game, right? That was the one that followed it up, right?
Yeah. Right after the Syracuse game.
No,
talking a lot of shit.
We went from our highest point to our lowest on the season in a matter of days.
Anyway, to get to my original point, I think we agreed that Capel bought himself at least another year.
He got a year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if the tires don't fall completely off, I think he'll be okay.
Exactly.
But I don't know. There's like a lot of stuff that could happen. College basketball is a weird sport, so we'll see.
A year sounds fair. If the wheels completely fall off this year, I don't think they fire him. So I think he has that, but then he would be immediately like on fire watch the next year. If he does somehow make the tournament back-to-back years, he's locked in for a little bit. I think he's deserved to get to a point where for the next 3 to 4 years he would feel fine.
Yeah.
Also, what a turn! I felt like Narduzzi was going to be at Pitt forever, and Capel was on his way out, and less than a year later, it's like completely flipped.
Well, that's because I think Capel does this thing where he'll make adjustments. So that's not exactly Narduzzi's wheelhouse, but yeah, I mean, dude, if you had like literally probably year to date in 2022, if you asked us this question, like we would have been like Narduzzi's the savior, yada yada yada. Not so much for Capel.
Hold on, let me hit football. Where we would have been? I think I might have been in fire Narduzzi mode at this point.
There was a point where Izzy was going so crazy, like everything was just covered up. It was just like, well, he just had 400 yards today, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. And then I also convinced myself that Rodney Hammond was going to be the next Izzy. So coming into this year, I was like, oh yeah, we'll just run the same thing with just like Rodney Hammond now. But what Izzy did was not an easy task.
So you do have me beat, Mason. October 11th last year would have been after Izzy's 6 touchdown game. So I thought it would have been like, oh, we're gonna win out. The Georgia Tech loss was a fluke. Fast forward about 2 weeks from that point, after back-to-back losses to Louisville and UNC, I would have been. I was sharpening my pitchfork at that point.
Oh, I didn't realize how bad.
Yeah, I think the Sun Bowl covers a lot of that up, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Last season did kind of suck too. Now thinking back to it now, because wasn't it?
Yeah, think about
who threw was the Louisville game like all the interceptions from Slovis?
I think he had 2 in that, 2 or 3.
I feel like it was like backbreaking, like type of.
It was 2 red zone interceptions.
There we go. Yeah, there were really some bad moments last year too. Damn.
I mean, I think we all buried it, but because we won all those games, but those final 4 games, like we kind of forget that we only scored 19 points against Syracuse, and then the defense won against Duke. Like we could have easily lost to Duke last year. Let's not forget that. But like you said, just make the adjustments, and the adjustment is firing a couple of guys. And I know they're your friends, Pat, but you should probably.
Well, I mean, Capel's got his brother on the staff, so that kind of can't really get rid of him. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure if he made any adjustments coaching wise, but just from his roster was barren. Like he had nothing. Went out and got guys and was able to win. Like it's a different recruiting because you have 12, 15 roster spots as opposed to the 70 to 90 that they have in college football. But I don't know. He adjusted play style. Like he's working with what he's got. In Capel, and Narduzzi is just doing nothing.
And he's using the portal in the right way. I feel like he knew what his team needed. He needed a Nelly Cummings last year. Like he needed somebody that was a senior guard leader that could help shape the way he wanted his program to go. Because he got good recruits before. Getting recruits was never the problem. But by the time everybody left, Xavier Johnson hated the team. You had McGowan's also he had guys, and it was just nothing was working. So he said, you know what? Let me go and get some senior leadership in the portal, and he has another leader coming back this year. Whereas Narduzzi, I guess he's I just want to get the best player possible, and I guess that's a little bit different with football and basketball. But Capel came in being known as a recruiter guy. He's going to get you your recruits. He's gotten your recruits, and he saw that they didn't work. He was able to, like you said, pivot and get to a place where he's getting the value leadership along with getting some good recruits, where it feels like Narduzzi's just well, we're just going to keep on running the ball for 3 yards and seeing what changes.
Right. You hit on it, but his success in the portal, no doubt, allowed him to flip guys Conte was originally committed to Michigan, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So without the senior guys that we bring in last year, you don't get Conte. You might not be able to keep guys like Carrington and Lowe, and I think that Zach Austin was a great portal grab this year. It's Capel adjusted, and then it made what he is good at even better. We know the story with Narduzzi. I'm not going to say it again.
A lot of people are saying that Pat was trying to swagger jack Capel a little bit, getting the Nelly Cummings being the hometown kid to return. He was like, "Oh, let me just do that with Phil, and then let me get this veteran leader to come back to the city of Pittsburgh." Didn't quite work out the same, Pat, but I appreciate the sentiment.
You know what it is? He tried to dip in the same well too many times because MJ Devonshire was that hometown kid who came home, went from Kentucky, etched his name in the fucking history books for all Pitt fans. He's like, "Oh, I can do it with Phil." He got a little too greedy. He thought he could make Phil a much better quarterback than he was, and then
hand up. I do want to apologize to all the Boston College fans out there. I would read comments and they were like, "You guys don't know what you're getting with Phil. He hasn't been the same since the injury." And I was just like, "Yeah, you're Boston College. You suck." And you guys are right. They were very right.
Yeah.
They're still a bad team, but they were right.
I'm trying to figure out. I think I still have the texts from my cousin who attended Boston College. I think we texted him the day the news broke. Let's see. I'm really good at killing time on this show. Oh, okay. Yeah. The day the news dropped. How do you feel about Phil Dracovic? Rumors he's transferring to Pitt. 5 words. Fuck him. He's a loser.
Hey, he was right.
He was right.
He was right.
That sounds if Phil transferred anywhere else, I think the message from me would be pretty much exactly the same.
Oh my god.
Dude, he had Zay Flowers.
Oh my.
Yeah,
You got to think that he almost probably held Zay Flowers back, right?
100%. 100%. That offense, Zay Flowers, that'll be a good trivia nugget down the road when Zay Flowers is a good receiver in the NFL, and you're just like, what college did he go to? Oh, Boston College with Frank Signetti. What the fuck?
Oh, here's an even better text I got from him. One of those great high recruits because he has good size, but lackluster arm talent for this level, does not have the mental ability to play with the speed of this game. We should have listened to Noah. We should have listened to you. I'm sorry. He knows ball and we didn't.
Yeah, because the moment I was done with him was that the interception he threw into double coverage against West Virginia.
Oh, the one where he threw it to nobody except the West Virginia player?
Yeah. At that moment, I was like, I'm done. I had so many people texting me like, because I had been talking to Phil at work a lot. I'd been talking to Pitt at work a lot. I was very high on getting Slovis out of there, and he was the one that was holding us back. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. We lost it's weird. It's weird. Cincinnati, it's just a weird game. But West Virginia, they're no good. Neil Brown is going to get fired after this game, after we destroy him again. And that interception, that's when I was done. At that point, I was like, Pitt football is done for the season. I'm not going to defend this anymore. And I took my lashings.
I think we're all doing taking a little bit of the lashings right now for sure.
Yeah. It's we need to win to be able to talk shit, and we don't have much ammo in that department. Actually, it's time for our weekly Wofford check-in. What's their record? Oh my god. Wofford's 0-6. Oh yeah, 0-6.
Happy we could contribute to that.
They haven't scored more than 10. They haven't scored 20 points in nearly a month. So is that going to do it from us? We're just going to look forward to basketball season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
when do we tip off? How many days until basketball season?
Pitt Basketball schedule 2023. November 6th. So that's 3 weeks away, right?
We only have to watch 4 more weeks. Yeah, 3 more weeks of Pitt football until we get to pivot to hoops. So,
actually, before we head out, before we pivot to hoops fully, I will say rematch of the Final Four from last year's NCAA volleyball tournament is happening this Friday. Pitt versus Louisville. I don't know if it's on TV. It might be, but that's going to be fun to watch. If you want to actually beat Louisville in a sport, it's probably going to be volleyball. So watch that on Friday. That's my recommendation. All right, that's going to do it from us tonight. We've been Simple 5 Podcasts. Once again, thank you to Mike for coming on. We're definitely going to have Mike back on more during basketball season because it's always great to talk with him. If you like the episode, follow us on Twitter at Simple5Pod. If you want to talk about real football that's going to happen, I did write up some articles previewing Christian Veilleux. You can find that at imrealangry.substack.com. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
Beat the Cardinals.